Hey guys, this is Agnibarna.
And Myra,
Welcome to the Hidden Coconuts podcast.
the show that dives deep into the lives of us coconuts, brown on the outside, white on the inside.
Or in other words, those of us who identify as both South Asian and North American, juggling two identities, contemplating how they coexist.
If you empathize, or you were just in the neighborhood, stick around and let's get cracking our inner coconuts.
So Myra, you were mentioning something about food. Care to elaborate?
Yeah, so in short, I have beef with food.
Specifically, because I think we all have our own personal beefs. So what's your beef? Is it beef stew? Is it like a steak?
It's raw beef. We don't get along. So, I know food is important for survival and stuff, but the different messages I've been getting from different cultures about what food is and what it should be in your life, it's been really confusing. So, I've had a hard time accepting a healthy relationship with it because of that. In our Pakistani culture, food is a big thing. We eat until we're full to the brim and we can feel ourselves expanding. So I remember going there to visit and constantly being called out for how little I ate, just because, I didn't fill myself to the brim. And I remember as a child, I just didn't have much of an appetite, so I didn't eat a lot. I was often called out, and so that gave me the message that, okay, I really need to change how much I eat. So I slowly started to eat more, and my family literally told me to set a goal to gain weight. So I was like, okay. And I thought it was a good thing until it kept happening. And I was like, oh my god, I'm getting bigger, and I'm gaining a lot of weight, and I'm getting fat. And that F word there, fat, that's a really dangerous word in this day and age. Or at least that's what we're told. Especially in Western society, that is a big no no. And as much as I don't want to accept that, and I know that being fat doesn't define who you are, that's just the message I get from mainstream society and media. As I tried gaining weight, I ran into some body image issues. So I cut back on unhealthy food and I started keeping track of how much I ate. I did my research, and according to an online website, I needed 1,200 calories a day for my age and height. So I tried to follow that. But at the same time, in order to cut back from the fat that I gained, I try doing a calorie deficit, which essentially is cutting back on how many calories you need in order to burn the fat. So I aimed for 1,000 calories a day, and I eventually got there, even lower, because I remember working so hard to try to reach this goal and maintain my weight, and my family would often call me out and tell me that I'm not eating enough. And I would just get so frustrated because I was the one who did all the research and knew what I had to do to get what I want. So yeah, I cut back on a lot of food, and it's definitely impacted who I am today. I am considered underweight, and I have been diagnosed with an eating disorder. It's anorexia nervosa, for those of you who are curious. And trying to fight that has been really tough, obviously. But the point is that it's really hard to know what's supposed to be normal or right. Um, and I've been really confused about how I should look at food. Is it something for survival or
Something you enjoy, maybe?
yes, as something I enjoy? And for a lot of people, it's a pleasure. It's something that they have fun with. But I felt like I wasn't able to have that experience, that enjoyment, because then it would cost me what I perceived people would look at me like.
Yeah, totally. That makes so much sense. And I think all of us can kind of relate to that, especially those who identify as girls. There's just so much more pressure on how we look. And it varies by culture, which is also kind of confusing because we live in a society where we are told, oh, you can be however you want to be. We accept all sorts of body shapes, but those shapes have to be within this limit. If you go out, you're not accepted. It's kind of like a mixed message being sent.
That's so true.
And at the same time, like for me personally, I come from a society where curves are kind of more appreciated to the point where women in red light districts of Bangladesh are fed cow hormone pills to gain extra chub and extra flabs. so they appear more attractive to their customers, quote unquote.
Oh wow, like that's so hard to believe because what we're taught here, it's so different. But that just raises the point again that there really is no set beauty ideal. Like it varies everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where the most common disorder for like teen girls, this is me just throwing in some psychology in there, is body dysmorphic disorder. So like there's always like that one part of our bodies that we target more than others. And it just looks different to us. Like we kind of like make our own mental image of what it looks like. And that becomes real to us. That becomes our reality when for other people that might not be the case. For other people, it might be like normal, you look normal, you are just fine the way you are. But it's like gotten to the point where it's kind of like eating you alive. It looks completely different. So, yeah, you know what I mean?
I do, and it's tough because we're our worst critics, so we constantly have this voice inside of our head that's telling us that something's not right or good enough.
And going back to the topic of food, food is literally everywhere. And it's a part of every culture if you pay attention. Cultural protocols change, traditions change, yada, yada, yada. But one thing I'd say is consistent is food. If you're at a party, there's food. If you're having a small gathering, there's food. If you invite people over, it's usually for dinner or a lunch. So food is always kind of incorporated. And adding to that, we come from a culture where the older aunties and uncles are kind of like watching you hawk eye, like just trying to feed you more. Like, take some more, or else you'll hurt my feelings. That's basically emotional manipulation, guys.
Literally, it's like they're pointing a gun at you.
Exactly. So yeah, there's lots of mixed messages about it. Like it's weird. Some people they'll criticize you if you gain weight. Some people will criticize you if you lose weight. So what exactly do you want us to be?
Exactly. It's an impossible situation. And then there's times where, like, they say, you have to be like this, but also like this. For example, this isn't related to body image, but like, wear makeup, but make it look like you're not wearing makeup. Like, make it look natural.
Yeah, for sure. And like getting back to the cultural aspect of it and like the brown girl aspect of it, you're in this position where you're in the middle of two cultures. You're kind of like wanting to be like one, but also feel like more inclined to the other because of your roots.
Mm-hmm. Like, you want a sense of belonging, but oftentimes you're caught between the two because they're so contradictory.
Exactly. So where one culture is like promoting salads and greens and eat more fresh foods, the other is more heavy on like the grains, the rice, the spices, the fat, the oils.
Ah, the oils.
On one side, the rice and the oils and the chicken and the curries are considered healthy, and on the other side of society that we grew up in, it's like, no, 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 cut down on that and eat more raw goods. Yeah, there are vegetables incorporated in like South Asian food, but it's cooked. It's cooked in oil. It's fried.
And it's just so frustrating because it's like, who do I believe? And me trying to convince my parents, like, no, what you eat is not healthy, it's just really hard because they're so used to thinking that certain way and they don't know that what they eat is considered here as unhealthy.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like, for me, something that happens quite often is I grew up like eating rice every day. That just became a part of me. I love like rice with chicken on the side. But lately, I think it's just a growing up thing. I don't eat it as much as I used to. And I'm kind of like, don't want to eat it all the time. I just want some variety. That's why I've started cooking for myself. But when I don't cook for myself, like it's like an automatic thing that there's always going to be some rice and chicken. And if I don't want to eat it, it's like a brown parent, brown aunties and uncle thing. They'll just kind of like have the way of persuading you and kind of manipulating you into eating it using like the emotion cards.
Right.
Talking about like beauty standards and how we're expected to be, just being raised in a Western society, people are heavily dependent on the BMI, like the body mass index.
Yes.
But what people don't realize is BMI is technically based on like your average Caucasian woman living in North America. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we're not Caucasian white women. We might be living in America, but our roots are different. So it's based on a Caucasian woman's diet, their environment, and that's not doesn't relate to us. So when we're measured along that scale and we're told we're like not average and we're overweight or even obese, it means we're obese in their standards, not based on what's normal for us. Do you know what I mean?
Right, it's like comparing apples to oranges. And that further raises a point. It might be normal for us and maybe not for them. But who's to say that one standard or one measure is right or normal?
Yeah. And body sizes overall have been hyped to the point where it just doesn't make sense on why it's so heavily seen in such a taboo or controversial way in society. Like, you won't judge me because I have longer hair than you, or my hair is red where yours is like blonde. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So like I can grow my hair just as much as I can like put on a few more pounds or like lose a few more pounds. I can cut my hair, I can cut back my food and like lose the extra weight just like I could grow my hair. So just because your hair is long and my hair is short doesn't mean I want it to be longer or shorter. It doesn't mean I want it to look like yours.
I love that analogy.
So every physical trait is kind of just you have to be like a certain way. That's just how societies become. And even like body shapes and size, everything is a social construct. Everything you see, everything's made because one person thought about it. And now that one person's thoughts and beliefs they put on other people, and now they're trying to put it on us. And I get it. We need to see other people to be inspired by and learn from. But that doesn't mean we have to have somebody else's beliefs. We learn from their beliefs to make our own.
Yeah, and I feel like the saddest part is that these standards are made by white men a lot of the times, like white, middle aged, heterosexual men.
At the time, especially like years back, this is what people believed in. This is what people thought, and it just became a society where white men ruled. And I'm taking like a sociology of gender course in school, and I read in one of the units we had a reading on how white men in Canada, they in the 17th or 18th century, they basically told the general population that women should not be going to school because as their brains increase in size, their uteruses shrink. So
What the heck?
yeah. So just because they said some stuff doesn't technically mean it's true. Just saying.
Yeah, that's very questionable. And I feel like we all, to varying degrees, think that our appearance has some weight in who we are. But, like, let's take your analogy for example. What if one day I decide to cut my hair or I come to school with my head shaved? That won't change who I am as a person. So,
Yeah.
so that really goes to show how insignificant the way we look is in comparison to who we are.
Yeah. And in terms of just us being from a different part of the world, having a completely different genetic makeup from the majority in this country, even growing up, we've always been socialized to believe that white is superior. Even like in grade two, I remember whenever we draw pictures, people would be like, "Oh, can I have the skin color, please?" And what's the skin color? It's a really light shade of peach. You'd never call brown skin color. You'd call it brown. Can you pass me the brown? But
Yeah,
skin color, it was basically even labeled skin color.
I know, and I remember getting so used to people calling it that that I actually started saying it too. Like, I just started conforming, and I thought that was just like right. And it wasn't until I started thinking about it later that I realized how problematic it was.
Oh my gosh. When I was 8 years old, I was obsessed with baby dolls, baby alives, any kind
Yeah.
of baby doll. And I remember in grade one, my parents bought me a black baby doll. And I was like livid, like, oh my gosh, this is a black baby doll. Are you kidding me? That's how badly society like shaped me. Even like in social experiments, if you ask a child between like a black baby and a white baby, which one's a good baby and which one's the bad baby, the white baby is the good baby and the black baby is the bad baby. And so we're like socialized from such a young age unintentionally. Even if it's not our parents, it's our society conditioning us to believe that any skin color other than white is not even considered skin color in the Crayola crayons.
Exactly. And it's all learned. Racism is learned. Like, we're not born with the mindset that whites are better than blacks.
Yeah, and it's in the subtle ways. Like it doesn't have to be explicit. Children are very observant. If they see like a slight twitch in the eyebrows when you choose like a darker color over a lighter color, or a slight twitching the eyebrow if a Black student does better than a white student or a brown student does better. It's like the little things that kids pick up on, and they're conditioned to believe from those things.
Yeah. And in class, I learned that there's this concept of being the other. So basically, it's like if somebody is not like you, we automatically feel threatened. Like because they're not like us, they're dangerous. And so I think that's the root cause of most discriminatory acts. It's just that we can't accept that people are different from us.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember you mentioning a while back about like this status of ours. So we were talking about how if this is a status that we should just accept, should we just accept that we'll always be the minority and that we'll always kind of be like hidden behind this curtain? Or like, are we even strong enough to speak up for ourselves?
Right, and that's the $1 million question. And the thing with that is that it's not just about should we or can we raise our voices. It's about if they're able to surface. Because in the long run, we're part of a bigger picture, and no matter how hard we try to have our voices heard, there still needs to be people that are willing to accept us. It's just a sad reality.
For sure.
But I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Can we?
I think I definitely agree with you in that sense that even if we are like strong enough to raise our voice, there will always be people who'd be like, no, there will always be people who will have opinions and stuff. But overall, I think we've made a lot more progress in the past few years than we've ever had, especially with inclusivity in North America. So, what I'd say is the people who believe in it, the people who care, they're like making a move and we're coming forward. And I'm going to quote Kristen Stewart here. If you're like not into it, if you don't believe in it, then we'll happily leave you behind and we'll just continue to drive forward.
I love that. And it's not impossible. It's a lot of work, but in the end, I think it's worth it. And it's also true that we have come a long way. I know I was pessimistic earlier, but you reminded us that it's important that we stand firm in what we believe and we put ourselves out there.
That's for sure. And to those of you who are listening, I'm pretty sure you've also felt something similar, had those moments where you felt like you didn't belong, or you felt like, should you just accept who you are right now, or can you be a better version of yourself? If you want to share with us, we'd love to hear it, whether you want to DM us, comment on one of our posts, or even talk to us on a podcast. You are more than what's the word? Oh my gosh, brain fart. More than welcome to do so. What happened there?
That's what we like to call midterm season, guys.
Your second midterm season.
Yeah.
You've reached the end of another episode of The Hidden Coconuts. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to check out our Instagram at The Hidden Coconuts for bloopers, more of our wandering thoughts, and a chance to be a guest on our show. We love to discuss and tackle everyday coconut quandaries, so stay tuned, and we'll see you on top of the coconut tree soon.